Poetry of Immigrants. We've had a little break. The kids were wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
They were filler.
They were
and
very
talented.
excited.
Thank you. So we're back. It is the equinox. Oh, isn't this wonderful? Autumnal equinox. And that connotes change. And fall is a favorite season of mine. How about you?
I love the fall
I
as well.
love the fall.
Yeah.
We are here with Gemma Mathewson. Oh, she's co-producer here every time.
Thank you, Frank. I'm
And-
happy to be here.
Oh, without you? Oh, really? And Liam Pisano, and he's a regular in New Haven at the open mic
At the Poetry Institute, yeah.
at the Poetry Institute.
As regular as anybody is around there.
Yeah, yes.
And it's tonight.
And it's tonight. yeah.
Again, once again, the third Thursday of the month. So thank you for taking the day off to be with
Thank
us.
you for having me.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. And love your readings when you extend those poems of yours.
That's the only feedback I get is make them longer.
Yeah. Is that comfortable?
Yeah.
Oh, good. And we have the Golden West, which is celebrated in Canada, as well as the U.S. and the Wild West. We have a photo from Easton Mountain up above Albany at this perfect September change of season. And then a poem I wrote 5 years ago that a friend of mine put up on a poster board.
Very nice.
And you can see the fall colors. Today we're celebrating the theme of change, but also featuring the country Canada. And who knew? All of a sudden, Googling Canadian poets, pow! Oh, this has been the most wonderful 3-week prep. So, when I say Canada, free associate for a minute. What are the first words that come to mind, Gemma?
Oh, for me, it's Quebec City.
Oh, trips.
Yeah.
Good for you.
I love Canada.
Chateau Frontenac?
From a distance,
From
yes.
a distance. Oh, how beautiful.
And the crepes and, all kinds of things.
The Krups?
Yep.
What are they?
Crepes is that?
Oh.
Yeah, the rolled, yeah.
Ah, food.
Food. Always.
Always. How could I miss that?
And the culture.
People live on their bellies.
The culture, there's so much Native American culture. in
Oh, the
Canada.
Native American culture.
And, all the good people who come from Canada, Neil Young, Joni Mitchell, Margaret Atwood, Leonard Cohen. was
Leonard
featured.
Cohen.
So many, poets and musicians from Canada.
Lyricists
That's right.
who are poets. And today a sub-theme is also the intimate connection between poems as lyrics and the lyrical tradition in poetry and the lyrics of a song. And Leonard Cohen is really a good example of that. He was born Toronto, I think, and emigrated. So we'll get into the poets in a minute, but free associate, Canada, off the top of your head.
Snow, trees, wilderness. There's a great big wilderness in Canada.
Oh gosh, yeah. We're gonna
Boundless, bigger than all of Texas, several times over.
Oh my God, it's stunning. And we're going to celebrate that today in some poems, and with poets who emigrated from England, Romania, and Germany, and came and settled out in Alberta. Wow.
Sounds great.
Gemma, please read who you brought today.
Okay. I think I'm going to start today with a poem by Margaret Atwood, who is a Canadian, who is well known for her fiction and science fiction,
Oh,
but she
yeah.
also wrote several books of poetry. This one just jumped out at me when I was looking through her poems, and it's it has a sad title, but I think there's humor and even a kind of nudging toward looking at things differently in this poem. It's called The Sad Child. You're sad because you're sad. It's psychic. It's the age. It's chemical. Go see a shrink or take a pill. Or hug your sadness like an eyeless doll you need to go to sleep. Well, all children are sad, but some get over it. Count your blessings. Better than that, buy a hat, buy a coat, or a pet. Take up dancing to forget. Forget what? Your sadness, your shadow, whatever it was that was done to you that day of the lawn party when you came inside, flushed with the sun, your mouth sulky with sugar, and your new dress with the ribbon and the ice cream smear, and you said to yourself in the bathroom, I am not the favorite child. My darling, when it comes right down to it and the light fails and the fog rolls in and you're trapped in your overturned body under a blanket or a burning car and the red flame is seeping out of you and igniting the tarmac beside your head or else the floor or else the pillow, none of us is, or else we all are. That's The Sad Child.
That's lovely. You know, it's almost as if you've channeled Margaret Atwood in a really strange and creative way, because I hear your own poetic voice coming through in her words, which is almost the rhythm of it too, seems to be your poetry, your gift.
Well, thank you.
So you've made Margaret Atwood accessible to me.
Well, thank you.
I haven't read any of her prose. I've been never sure that I could get through it.
Some of it's more accessible than others.
Okay.
And there's some that I can't get through, but I've read, others that I enjoy as well.
And I looked her up, but I couldn't find any poetry collections. Does she have one?
She does, but I couldn't find them at local libraries. So,
Okay. So she's a poet as well.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So,
I really enjoyed that one.
Okay. Good, I'm glad.
Yeah.
So another poet, and these will all be, women from my point of view today, is Joni Mitchell. She has written a book of poetry, and she's written many, many, many lyrics. And every time I read a lyric from this book, the music comes back. And the challenge is to not sing-song it, which is difficult to do, but difficult for me. But some of her poems are just so outstanding, her lyric poems.
Oh, those songs. What is her decade?
Oh, well, she was in the 60s. She came from Canada. She is Canadian.
Yep.
She moved to, the Midwest first, I think, briefly, and then to LA.
Okay.
So she has, to date, a home in LA and a home in Canada. So she's not exactly an immigrant, but she's, and she's not an expat. So she's I think she has dual citizenship.
Oh, that is really cool.
But I'm not sure if she ever did get American citizenship. But she does have residences in both places.
Back and forth.
Still,
Yeah.
So I'm going to read something from one of her earlier albums, from Ladies of the Canyon. This is called For Free. I slept last night in a good hotel and went shopping today for jewels. The wind rushed around in the dirty town, and the children let out from the schools. I was standing on a noisy corner, waiting for the walking green, and across the street he stood, and he played real good on his clarinet for free. Now me, I play for fortune and those velvet curtain calls. I've got a black limousine and 2 gentlemen escorting me to the halls. And I'll play if you have the money or if you're a friend to me. But that one-man band by the quick lunch stand, he was playing real good for free. Nobody stopped to hear him, though he played so sweet and high. They knew he had never been on TV, so they passed his music by, and I meant to go over and ask for a song, maybe put on a harmony. I heard his refrain as the signal changed. He was playing real good for free. So it's a poem. I love the way it's resolved. You know, she doesn't quite get there. She has the idea that she wants to, but her life, you know, when the signal changes, it's like her whole life gets forced into the direction that she started out in and has to keep going. But unfortunately, that's the way many of our lives go. We know we should be doing more for people, and we're on that course to keep going. And
When that signal changes.
yeah.
What marvelous rhyme and rhythm and song, you know. I can't recall a tune of hers, but the 60s.
Yeah, and you know, 60s well up into the 80s.
Well up into the 80s. That's good to know.
And a wonderful thing about Joni Mitchell is that she never stayed the same.
Yeah.
She evolved, and she would started jazzy, pop, folksy, and went into, you know, other genres as well. You know, island, everything. She's
Mark of a creative artist, like Leonard Cohen too.
You bet.
Wow. So who's your favorite
Who's my favorite?
of the songwriters, poets from Canada?
Oh, I'd have to say Joni Mitchell.
Really?
I mean, I Blue, the very depressing Blue, got me through a very depressing, like, 2 years of my life, and it was just on instant replay again and again. And that happened to quite a few people that I know. They would just latch on to a Joni Mitchell album. For, what's his name? The writer. It'll come to me later. But his favorite was Hejira. He kept listening to Hejira again and again and again. I'm trying to think of his name, but I can't right now.
I think we all have an album like Blue.
Yeah, you know. So, but Ladies of the Canyon. I mean, that was just, you know, that was my introduction. It was so memorable, and just right up on through. So.
I was thinking that, but I don't really recall instantly what song I've relied on. What have you gone back to get you through the sadness or the change of season or a situational depression? Or I never think of that a song is associated with a feeling. Naturally, they do.
Well, that's how they're constructed, right?
That's yeah. I'm getting it. Yeah.
The wheels are turning.
Going from the head to the heart. I should start here.
Probably.
Then go up.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of songs that I would consider that. I mean, there's of course the many covers of people that have done Hallelujah. It always gets to me.
Hallelujah.
There's always some wonderful renditions of that, and it's been very popular.
Sometimes a tear and sometimes not.
There's always a good there's like 100 Tom Waits songs that I keep going back to. He's not an immigrant necessarily, but he's always written a fine ballad that I come back to all the time.
All I can think of is, "You are my sunshine."
Well, that's a sweet little one, yeah.
My mom used to sing that.
Oh, I sang it as
Well,
a
no
lullaby
wonder.
to my children and grandchildren too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
And
a
then it
lullaby.
shifts from major key to minor key. And that's the brilliance of it. Wow.
Frank, are you getting misty-eyed on us?
I'm getting misty-eyed.
Oh, that's all right.
And it's not even into the show
Yeah,
much.
we just started.
Let me deflect. So, the art of the Golden West.
Yes.
So Canadian culture is not only, you know, bilingual, English, a lot of immigrants from England, but also the poets we're going to look at, as I say, are from all over. And those who settled in the West have a whole different take on Canadian culture and experience and
That's
music
true.
and poetry. It's like, whoa, that's, but,
And the First Nation people have a
Oh, the
very
First
big
Nation, yeah.
influence in Canada. There are so many First Nation people.
the
And
Cree.
their culture, and their culture is well established with poetry as well.
Do you have one?
I do.
Great.
I have a poet named Louise Bernice Half.
Oh,
And
yeah.
this is a poem about the boarding schools.
Ah,
It's called The Reserve Went Silent.
ah.
The reserve went silent. Alone, Robin hopped in the expanse of the yard where once children scraped their elbows and knees, drew lines in the dirt for hopscotch, or designated the imaginary rooms of a house and lined the cupboards with mud pies. The yard now empty, where once a lively baseball field of excited runners wore out trails between first and base and third, where once the home base was tattered, mound of scrapped up dirt and straggly grass. I see this now. I never saw the searing pain on my mother's face, nor experienced my father's eyes squeeze to dam his flood. Their world went mute when the Pied Piper played his organ through the reservation.
Wow.
My parents never spoke of the gash that tore through families and gutted the whole reserve.
Oh.
So she uses some strong imagery there, the Pied Piper and the gash that gutted their, and not only were the children taken away, but their language and their culture was denied to them at a formative stage of their
Yeah.
development. And that happened also, south of the border of the United States, but this is a very eloquent poem about that experience.
Very eloquent.
Yeah.
And the imagery is so strong, as you say. Do you know anything about her background? What tribe?
I know a little bit more. I'll read you another poem by her,
Oh, good.
if I can find it, which will tell us, I think, if I can find it.
Fall just fell off the promontory,
As it does.
as it does. Oh,
Oh, it's down.
fall fell.
From such great heights.
Yeah.
Okay.
Early spring.
Wepinaso.
What is it?
Wepinaso.
Pinaso.
Two women stare at each other. Grunts, groans, rippling, meowing, and cawing. They spin these songs of a brook searching, a crane meditating, a frog croaking, a mantis sucking on a fly, a beaver caught in an iron jaw. Thunder shuddered. A pair of lovers parted under a tree. Lightning smiled through one's heart. Dew rolled into the woman's basket. The Inuit voices bounced, echoed against their lodge, wet with death. A deer rubbed her nose into her mate, pranced into the meadow, and fell as an arrow flew. Her robe sliced with fluttering hands, her bones became the scraper, skinning knife, needles, and a flute. Her sinew, thread, rawhide bowls, folding boxes, drums, and medicine bags. Her skin, a lodge of sticks and hide. Her hair, a mattress. Close by, fur-covered men sat drumming. This I saw, Ekwesi, turnaround woman. I am she. So I don't know exactly what tribe she's from. I didn't get that far in my research about her, but she's still currently writing poetry, and so, that puts us close to her, memory experience.
And so close to the Native American experience in terms of the power of the natural imagery from the natural world. How much of that there is from the first line right to the end,
Right. And
which
how,
introduces the different culture.
and when an animal is sacrificed in that culture, it's respected so that every part of it is used. It's implied in that poem, and I think that's just an important understanding of ecology and nature. You know?
And what a delightful contrast to what some of the other imagery that we read from the eastern part of the country, as we'll see in a moment. I love that poem.
Thank you.
The naturalness.
I like it too.
And the understanding almost between the lines of we all own the land, we're all part of nature, birth, death, the cycles of life.
There's a phrase in there that's like stuck in my ear, wet with death. I don't think I've ever heard that before.
Yeah, that's quite a phrase.
Yeah.
So you can use that as a title of a poem.
I don't know that I would be able to handle it with such seriousness.
Well, there you
Could you read the line before and after?
go. Uh-oh. I don't know. I think I buried it again.
Wet with death.
Okay, here we are.
Wow.
The Inuit voices bounced, echoed against their lodge, wet with death.
Oh, the lodge.
So they're in the lodge and they're doing all this, curing of the animal
Yeah,
and using the animal's parts.
Which is natural.
Right.
And the gratitude that's in there, also between the lines, is a beautiful thought and feeling. So glad you brought Native American poets.
Thank you.
So let's stay west
Okay.
and go to Robert. He is a German immigrant, Robert Kruge. And he came when he was 2 with his family. And they settled out in the west of Alberta, and they borrowed some Cree lands to build a sod house and their own homestead. This voice struck me. Robert's voice struck me. As a sort of antic, sort of an amalgam of German and attitudes from the old country to the new imagery and the new impressions, and yet at age 2, I wonder what that must be like, keeping some of the old culture and the language with your family. Wrightsville Beach, North Carolina. My then mother-in-law in North Carolina introduced me to her tea time group as a full-blooded German. I realized immediately that my tribal connection gave me status. Some of the ladies crossed their legs. Some didn't. I should have told them my grandparents, homesteading in Alberta, took land away from the Cree. They had guns, the Cree. They had hunting rifles, but my buffalo had been all killed off. My tribe had plows and livestock. We had bags of seed and Treaty 6, capital, and what for the Cree was a brand new sense of ownership. Yeah. I should have said to the ladies, we Germanic tribes are a nasty bunch, aren't we? Instead I said, thank you, I'll have a cup. What ambivalence and almost ambiguity and irony.
Well, Sitting Bull said that our culture is judged, a person is judged great by what they have, and the native, his culture was judged great by what they would give away. Which kind of, the whole idea of ownership being a new thing.
The whole idea
Yeah.
and the beauty of the contrast, and yet the reality of the conflict.
Yeah, that it does imply, the whole core of the conflict right there.
That's the bottom line, isn't it? Yeah, property rights and
Sure.
personal property in the West and the East.
That's something our society still really grapples with, is what is public and what is private property,
Yeah,
and what is the public responsibility versus the private one.
Yeah.
ongoing.
So we clearly didn't have any ideas of what the answer should be when we came over and started asking other people at the end of a gun, did we?
No, we didn't.
No.
And wouldn't it have been
Well expressed.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it have been much more enlightened and healthy in the way of taking on some of the native culture, particularly in that aspect? Oh, they all contribute to a common good. Oops.
Yeah.
Right? Fears.
Novel ideas, I think.
Fears. You got one from Robert, right?
I do.
Cool.
So this one, again, speaking to the idea of a little bit of pillaging, I guess. This one is called Pirate Story and does involve his father in making the homestead, I guess. So, Pirate Story. My father was wrecking an old prairie house to salvage the lumber, and he looked like a pirate. Up there on the roof ridge, swinging a hammer. I made a sword from a plastering lathe, and the gold I stole from the Spanish was the gold they stole from the Incas. We were in cahoots, my father and I, and he attacked the weathering house and I attacking the ship he rowed. My sword was two-edged. My father looked like a pirate. What does the son of a pirate do after the ship is demolished?
Wow.
That's a great poem.
I love that one. The imagination of a young boy turning a sod house into a ship and still learning from his father. And yet, how do they adjust? How do immigrants who are that fresh from the European homeland, I think back to my grandfather himself, how do they do that? Do you have ancestors from the old country?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I think my family came around about 1910s, 1920s. The two sides of my family came over.
Yeah.
From all sorts of places.
Yeah.
We've done that 23andMe thing on the one side, and they came all sorts of kinds of places.
That's so
It was always
cool.
fascinating stuff.
23andMe is so cool. Yeah. The 2% of this and
It's always neat to find the little bits that you didn't know about yourself. But I think what happens to a lot of immigrant families is that the children, and this is probably something that happens generationally in every family, when the culture shifts, is that the children end up translating a lot for the parents in more ways than one. So they kind of have to bridge a lot of those culture gaps and
cultural
things like
brokers.
That. Exactly.
Yeah.
Which probably comes into the idea of the other poem too, about how the reservation just sort of felt empty without the children who create that kind of cultural exchange there
right.
anymore.
Yeah.
Oh,
was
God, that
another
was awful.
level of theft. That there was no bridge. Yeah.
Oh, what an awful experience to have your children taken away, put in school, and indoctrinated. Oh. Well, another one?
Sure.
Robert?
As many as we have.
Yeah.
Cool. Would you hold that up for the camera?
Absolutely.
Wild Man. Afterthought 1. At last, winter is falling upon us. Snow rides the down elevator from invisible skies. Now, ain't this something grand? We welcome winter. Snow is the real thing after the false exuberance of summer. The first snow is soft and warm, mothering. I was born in the month of June. June is a month of rainbows. The crops were rising green. My mother claimed I bit her nipples so hard she couldn't breastfeed. Back then, I was greedy for life. What a voice. And one more. On tour, when the radio host said, "Now tell us again who you are," I knew I was in trouble. Flesh become flesh, I said. I was just guessing. I could see he was disappointed. "I'll get you a printout," I said, "of my DNA." I was clutching at straws. My dentist will have on file some x-rays. He looked disappointed again, my radio host. I'm a cousin, I said, to the chimpanzee, with whom you might be familiar. He glanced at the clock on the studio wall. You have written a book, he prompted, despairing. Yes and no, I said. Who is it or what writes the book? Maybe I'm just a transmitter. He felt better. I was talking radio talk. You must rush out and buy this new volume, he said, not to me, to his listeners. As for himself, he said, he wasn't much of a reader. Robert is kooky cool. Yeah. Thank you. Break time?
Okay.
Yeah.
So
We'll be back.
I wouldn't say this on the air, but my Leche League training tells me that if that mother had a problem with the child biting her nipples, she has to keep her finger ready, because when they start to flutter suck, that means that they're going to take a break, and young, infants will kind of clamp down to make sure the breast is still going to be there. So that's when you need to put your finger in.
And you're on tape.
No, it's what's the word? It's not. Okay, we're wrapping up. It's not German.
It inspires passionate debate. It's worn like a badge of honor with good reason, because it means love and devotion for one's country. Love. But what really makes up this country of ours? What is it we love? It's the people. Almost half the country belongs to minority groups. People who are lesbian, African American, and bi and transgender and Native American, and proud of it. After all, what's more American than freedom to celebrate the things that make us, us? This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Love beyond age, disability, sexuality, race, religion, and any other labels. Because the second any of us judge people based on those labels, we're not really being patriotic, are we? Because love has no labels.
They'll test you. Try to break your will. But however loud the loudness gets, however many cheese puffs may fly, you're the driver, the one in control. Stand firm. Just wait. And move only when you hear the click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
Do you want to retire like a champ? Just like legendary basketball star Uncle Drew?
Don't do him like that, Uncle Drew!
You're already acing the game. You've got your dream ride.
Don't be slamming my door.
Sorry about that.
You just did the same.
Gotta get the boys. Your dream vacation and your dream team. And now you can make your retirement just as legendary.
I get buckets.
Get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
With newspapers and media outlets merging all over the country, communities are losing their local voice.
There's so much going on in the community that I think doesn't really, there's a lot of folks who are unaware of it. And I think things like this can bring it out into the community and in that way kind of bring the community together.
Information and to our residents is the key to good governance. And with the national media and local media not often covering us, this is an excellent opportunity for us constantly to communicate with our constituents and also to have them communicate with us.
The best outcomes will be achieved through a community-based organization that grows its operation and scale by means of locally produced programming.
All of our content is volunteer produced, so we do shows from talk shows to music shows, working with high schools.
VSC TV is committed to ensuring that the investment made to secure these powerful tools will pay great dividends in the community for many, many years.
Thank you. So, Max, appreciate your being here. Thank you. Ken, and also Chris and Christy. What a team. They're loyal. I'm going to open with Lao Tzu, The Way of Life. It's my new Bible. I kind of go through phases, you know. Used to read poems, prayers, so-called, by John O'Donohue in the first 10 shows. But Lao Tzu grabbed hold of me in the most gentle way. 6th century BC, Chinese poet. Kind of the guy who lived in the cave, I think. Wrote 85 sayings, and they're with us, still being published. The Way of Life, Lao Tzu. Number 7, the universe is deathless. Is deathless because, having no finite self, it stays infinite. A sound man, by not advancing himself, stays the further ahead of himself. By not confining himself to himself, sustains himself outside himself. By never being an end in himself, he endlessly becomes himself. It's the kind of wisdom that I'm hoping for in my next decade. A little aside, I'm turning 77 on Sunday, and I'm so glad to still be here.
And many more.
Thank you. Yeah. Nature. Number 5. Nature, immune as to a sacrifice of straw dogs, faces the decay of its fruits. A sound man, immune as to a sacrifice of straw dogs, faces the passing of human generations. The universe, like a bellows, is always emptying, always full. The more it yields, the more it holds. Men come to their wits' end arguing about it, and had better meet it at the marrow. The breath of life moves through a deathless valley. Get a copy from the library.
That's great. I like the universe as a bellows because it's like a live thing breathing in and out.
Oh,
Is that a
Yeah.
what an image. Which is a great segue to The Bellows of the Lungs. Leonard Cohen. Who did you like in Leonard that you picked out?
You mean of poems?
Yeah.
Several of them, actually.
Good. Leonard Cohen,
I've gone through several of these.
born in Canada, spent 6 years in California on Mount Baldy, becoming a Buddhist monk, and then came down from the mountain and resumed his active, creative life. A lot of the poems are written up on top of the mountain. Robes and everything. Asceticism. Wow. Couldn't do that.
I like noise too much. They're awful quiet up there on the mountain.
Quiet. Silence, yeah. For a musician, how does that even compute?
You'd have to ask one of them.
Yeah, I'd have to. And he just passed away like January, or was it December? So there's been a rush of Leonard Cohen, you know, hallelujah. But now we have discovered both the paperback
Yes.
and, isn't that a great cover? Leonard Cohen, Book of Longing. Wow.
While he is gone, we have him preserved in both print, CD, and media format.
Oh. And
Let's have some.
let's
Please.
have some. Let's have some longing.
You sent us that email
Yeah,
about how
I did.
autumn is a sense of longing, and I thought, oh, he's inviting me to this because he's been reading my mail.
Yeah.
So, one of the ones that really spoke to me in here, I have them bookmarked, but not name marked. So, here we have.
And you know him for how long? I mean,
How long have I known of
as
him?
a singer, and has he
He has-
captured you from what age?
I'll be honest, the first time I encountered something of his,
Yeah.
there was a animated movie called Shrek 2,
Yeah.
and they had a cover of Hallelujah in it. And that
Oh.
was my first introduction to him, actually.
That's not too long ago.
No, certainly not. Well, I don't know. I don't have a frame of reference for long that I would apply here.
Yeah.
Long ago.
So,
Yeah, exactly.
so
So
60s,
let me.
70s,
I don't find it.
80s.
I'm sorry. I'm looking for this
90s?
one. Report to SB.
Pauses are good in poetry.
Let me
Yeah.
use
Oh, look
this
at
one.
those. Look
This
at those.
one's a fun one.
Look at those. Oh my God. Look at those illustrations.
He has fantastic illustrations.
He has fantastic
books.
illustrations. Oh my
For his
God.
notes.
Look at that self. The illustrations are like knockouts.
There was a. We're off topic again. There was a teacher of mine in college for sketching.
Yeah.
And he said that he used to have a professor of his own that made them do self-portraits.
Yeah.
And he made them do them over and over and over again. And eventually you would hit a peak where you didn't like drawing yourself anymore and you would deconstruct yourself a bit, but then afterwards you would put yourself back together and it would kind of curve someone's self-esteem. And I think about some of these he was probably working on that same kind of scale. Here's the one I was looking for.
Good.
Perfect. So this one is called Separated. I was doing something and I don't remember what. I was standing in a place but I don't remember where, and I was waiting for someone but I don't remember who. It was before or it was after, I don't remember when, and suddenly or gradually I was removed. I was taken to this place of reversal and I was separated, and in the place of every part there was the name of fear. And for a vast memorial, there was the name of grief. If you know the prayer for one who has been so dislocated, please say it or sing it. And if there is among the worlds an empty space, or among the letters an orchard of return, please set my name firmly there with a voice or hand which only you command. You righteous ones who are concerned with such matters, but please hurry, for all the parts of me that gathered briefly around this plea are dispersed again and scattered on the other side where angels stand upside down. And everything is covered with dust, and everyone burns with shame, and no one is allowed to cry out.
Ooh. Apocryphal.
A lot of his work is apocryphal, looking through this.
Wow. So did you just thumb through and pick that, or did...
Well, I've read through this collection before,
Have you?
and then
Yeah.
upon your invitation, I've thumbed through them again, looking for some of the ones that really stood out to me. And I think that one is quite tall as far as
That's a
standing out goes.
Yeah. Wow. I can't even imagine the music. Were it,
Were it musical?
Oh, yeah. Wow. How about another?
Another. This one, to be less dramatic,
Yeah.
is called Butter Dish.
Yeah.
Darling, I now have a butter dish that is shaped like a cow. And that's all of it.
Yeah. What a contrast.
I do love the swings between very apocryphal poetry and then very sly little witty ones that just kind of give you a chuckle, something mundane.
And minimalist, just bing.
Very.
Oh, it's so
Yeah.
cool. How much do you love him as a poet? I mean, a musician, yeah. But I'm getting to like him an awful lot as a poet. I mean, I didn't even know this was around.
I think his sense of rhythm definitely carries. I think that's something that whether you have music behind it or not, that translates very well. And I think when you brought up Margaret Atwood and how Gemma made it so something so accessible, I think that's because Gemma has a really nice sense of rhythm when she reads.
That's it. And especially her own, you know.
So what did you like about find
Just-
something that you
Just turn to this. Lorca lives. Federico Garcia Lorca. We've had a show on him. It was cool. It's really great. Lorca lives in New York City. He never went back to Spain. He went to Cuba for a while, but he's back in town again. He's tired of the gypsies, and he's tired of the sea. He hates to play his old guitar. It only has one key. He heard that he was shot and killed. He never was, you know. He lives in New York City. He doesn't like it, though. That's whimsy. This whimsy's just out of the air. Mercy returns me. A woman I want, an honor I covet, a place where I want my mind to dwell. Then mercy returns me to the triad and the crisis of the song. And these are his, believe it or not. Ken, can you focus in on us, buddy? These illustrations are wonderful. Just glorious. I mean, it's half of the book in its power. Did you notice any you liked? I love this one.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. And you know, as he grew older, you know, out of the monkdom, so to speak, he, I don't know, did he loosen up? What was the experience in his creativity?
Yeah.
I mean, look at these. Holy cow. You know, there is a tradition here. Patchen, Kenneth Patchen.
Yes.
Wow. Did you see his stuff? His doodles to go with the poetry. What a guy. Kenneth Patchen. Loved him. I guess I'm enamored because I don't draw. How cool is this? He's got his hat on, right?
Yeah, that's a very similar. Look there.
Did you plan that?
I wish I had.
If you
but
take your glasses off, it would be exactly.
I had to surrender to
Oh yeah.
synchronicity today because
Yeah.
it's much better than I am at this. Oh. You got a cone.
I have one somewhere, but I don't know if
Oh
I
my
can
gosh,
find it.
look at this.
You know, why don't you just keep going?
Okay,
because
I'll keep going.
It'll take me too long to find it.
What thrilled me was his poems on the mountain. I loved it. To go with that wonderful unshaven face, a limited degree. As soon as I understood, even to a limited degree, that this is G blank D apostrophe S, God's, without the O in there, world, I began to lose weight immediately. At this very moment, I am wearing my hockey uniform from the 6th grade.
Well, there's a Canadian poem.
Boogie Street, a sip of wine, a cigarette, and then it's time to go. I tidied up the kitchenette. I tuned the old banjo. I'm wanted at the traffic jam. They're saving me a seat. I'm what I am, and what I am is back on Boogie Street. And oh, my love, I still recall the pleasures that we knew, the rivers and the waterfall wherein I bathed with you. Bewildered by your beauty there, I'd kneel to dry your feet. By such instructions you prepare a man for Boogie Street. So come, my friends, be not afraid. We are so lightly here. It is in love that we are made. In love we disappear. Though all the maps of blood and flesh are posted on the door, there's no one who has told us yet what Boogie Street is for. Oh, crown of light, oh, darkened one, I never thought would meet. You kiss my lips, and then it's done. I'm back on Boogie Street. The rhythm, the rhyme, Alexandra leaving. Suddenly the night has grown colder, some deity preparing to depart. Alexandra hoisted on his shoulder, they slip between the centuries of your heart. Upheld by the simplicities of pleasure, they gain the light. They formlessly entwine and radiant beyond your wildest measure, they fall among the voices and the wine. It's not a trick, your senses all deceiving, a fitful dream the morning will exhaust. Say goodbye to Alexandra leaving, then say goodbye to Alexandra lost. Even though she sleeps upon your satin, even though she wakes you with a kiss, do not say the moment was imagined, do not stoop to strategies like this. As someone long prepared for this to happen, go firmly to the window. Drink it in. Exquisite music. Alexandra laughing. Your first commitments tangible again. You had the honor of her evening, and by that honor had your own restored. Say goodbye to Alexandra leaving. Alexandra leaving her lord. You have loved enough. Would you read that one?
Oh, certainly.
You have loved enough.
You've loved enough. I said I'd be your lover. You laughed at what I said. I lost my job forever, and I was counted with the dead. I swept the marble chambers, but you sent me down below. You kept me from believing until you let me know that I am not the one who loves. It's the love that seizes me. When hatred with his package comes, your forbid delivery. And when the hunger for your touch rises from the hunger, you whisper, you had loved enough, and now let me be the lover.
Thank you, Liam.
I think he comes at it from all angles, and he doesn't leave any page unturned in a love story, does he?
Yeah,
Great.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
He's got a real edge to him where he loves to intertwine the almost religious language with things like hallelujah and his mention of angels and even writing the word God without the O in it. Very devout in that way. And he loves to mix it with the sensual, which is always a bit of a challenge to people that they don't usually think of those things together, but that's poetry mixing that kind of stuff is what they're about, I guess.
Right.
And in the words, he's quite graphic sexually. And the poems tend to end that way with a We're down to 2 minutes. So, distilled wisdom. What would you leave us with today from your experience with these poets?
I would actually leave you with just one more Leonard Cohen,
Oh, please.
a snappy one.
That's perfect.
And I think it quite effectively settles the question of what I like about poetry. So it's called The Remote. I often think about you when I'm lying alone in my room with my mouth open and the remote lost somewhere in the bed. And I think that's about as much poetry as I'll ever need.
I don't know if I'd be flattered if it was directed at me, but he did a great job as our guest today. I hope.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Liam, you're a natural.
Yeah.
But then again, you are in the
soon.
open mic.
I would love to come back as soon
Okay,
as
good.
any time.
Yes, yes, yes. The energy was really wonderful today, wasn't it?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
So that last line of Cohen's, I loved you well in the Chelsea Hotel. There are 3 of them? 3 versions of the Chelsea Hotel?
I think I'm only familiar with number 3.
Ah. Is that line in 3?
Yes, it is.
Cool. That's such a cool poem. I loved you well in the Chelsea Hotel.
But that's all. I don't think of you that often.
Yeah. That's the point. Yeah. Thank you, Gemma.
You're welcome.
Oh,
Fred.
what a
Yeah, what a great
fun show. Number 21.
Hey,
Oh, Canada.
the show is old enough to drink.
Oh, yeah. And and come back
Anytime.
often. Yeah. How cool. And bring some of your poems.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's a wrap. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Oh, Canada. How wonderful. Yeah. Did we miss anybody?
I think we're doing well. Another time we'll do some
Another
more.
time, Leighton, next time.
There's always more.
There's always more. Thank you very much, team. We're good. And check us out Mondays at 8 o'clock on Channel 19 locally, and also on the website of Valley Shore Community TV. Oh, now I see how beautiful that setting is. Thank you. Thank you, Gus. Gus. I call him Gus.